Welcome, welcome. Let's try that again. Third time's a charm. We're just kind of doing really well here. Cutting it close. How is everybody? Hope everybody's really well. Today, I have no clue of the date. I think it's the 4th of April. It's amazing to me it's April already, you guys. It's just flying by. Easter's come and gone. It's just amazing. It just goes too fast. Just goes too fast. Hope everybody's doing well. It's crazy weather. It's horrible up in the east. We've got beautiful weather here. No complaints here, but boy, it's just all kinds of weird stuff going all over it. The weather and the politics are both kind of crazy and out of control. I think they're something in common. All right, so we are excited tonight. We're gonna present pants, and as we present pants, I think that it's so good to just do it, and the more you learn, and as you learn more and as you watch, it kind of confirms what you've learned and what you know, and that's a good thing. It really is. When you're kind of ahead of me and say, "Oh, I know that," and that's kind of what I want you to do tonight. If you know what I'm going to do or what I'm going to say, I want you to do it before I do it or say it before I say it, type thing. But we are glad to be here and grateful. All right, so we're going to start off in our same traditional format where we have questions coming in. Will you be mailing out the facing for Kelsey's blouse? I tried to print out from the email, but I can't get it the right size. We won't be mailing out because that we did email. All you have to do is hit print. Don't adjust it or don't change the size. But if you just hit print, it will print it in that same exact size. We actually tried it like 10 times. If you hit your printer, print to page or scale to page, it will change it. But just hit print. That's all you have to do. If you're having problems, let me know. We don't have a tissue version yet. We will eventually have a tissue version because the patterns are being corrected. But this email, the way they did it, Jared suggested it was a great way to really kind of get it out to you super quick. But just make sure you don't scale it down and you should be fine. Just hit print and make sure it's not pre-scaled. Okay. How is Brett? He's in the hospital. And this cancer thing, you guys, we take one day at a time. But this is a pretty strong chemo session, and I hope he's asleep. But hi, Brett, if you're there watching, he kind of has a tendency to monitor everything still for us. We're cautiously optimistic. How's that? But thank you all so much again, just for your thoughtfulness and your kind words and all that you've sent our way. It's really appreciated. Hopefully there'll be a day soon where we can put this all behind us. But anyway, on the spring tank from the recent webcast, do you sew the shoulders of the tank separate from the triangle sleeves? Yes, the shoulders seam is sewn separate first. You create that. The only time you put the triangle wedges in was you wedge them into the side seam, or you cross them into the side seam, and then you secure them in the fold over elastic that you put on the neckline. You do those two things. Okay? Other than that, it's completely separate and it's only held in place by those two things. I am sewing blouse 400, the pullover with the slit at the back version. It has a shaped hem. How do you turn the hem edges over to machine hem without ripples? You can only do a 3/8 inch seam allowance. If you don't go more than 3/8, if you go more than 3/8, it will ripple, but if you do 3/8, it won't have any problem. If you are having problems, press it up first. Just press, I just serge the edges. I mean, I've done it so much I just do it on the machine, but finish it off on the serger, or don't. I mean, some kind of finish on the bottom. Press it up to 3/8. Or less. If you're having problems, do only an 1/8 and it will turn up beautifully. Press it and then go ahead and stitch it. And you can do it. You can't do 5/8. You can't do a wider seam allowance, but you can do 3/8. Will you be doing a class in Chicago? I will be. Vogue Fabrics was one of our sponsors of our Fit to Stitch show, and so we are doing a class there to kind of reciprocate and say thank you to Vogue Fabrics. We don't have it on the books yet. So if you'll just kind of watch the website for new classes going up. My class schedule, to be quite honest, is kind of pathetic right now. It's really on hold because so many of the classes that are up now were up prior to Brett being sick, and I just didn't know what, there's just too many variables, and I really wanted to be here and I just wanted to be here, really. I think that I just wanted to be here. So I've held off scheduling anything additional. Once we get clearance and once things settle down a little bit, we can, get a better class schedule. But right now it's a little sketchy. On De Laurentiis top, how did you hem the overlay? I did a rolled edge, you should call it, twice. So I turned and turned twice. But lots of different ways you could do it, and I say this many, many times. We just filmed a new video last week. What's today? Monday. Anyway, last week we filmed a new DVD, or we've been working on it for a while, but we finished the final filming. And the name of the DVD is The Fabric Always Wins, and it's really talking about mixing fabric and pattern combinations and how to choose and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things I talk about in there is that you want to make sure whatever decision you make is appropriate for the skill level of yourself and of your machines that you have in your possession. So if you have a fabric that won't seem to do what you want it to do, then try to hem it or try to finish it first, and if it won't do it, then you got to change plans. You got to do something else. The thing you don't want is the garment to be all done and then you to ruin the garment because you couldn't get the edging how you wanted it to be. So that's just something to kind of pay attention to. But there's many, many options out there today, so it's not like you can't do something. You just have to pick the option that works for what you have available to you. Love your 2-inch elastic. Will you consider selling it in 1.5? Oh, selling 1.5 inch. You mean narrower? No, because you can cut the 2-inch narrow. You can cut the 2-inch to any. I have it. I just have drawers of it, and I cut it to 1/4 inch. It's the only elastic you ever need. You're not going to probably need wider than 2-inch, but you can take and just cut it in strips, so it cuts down to be whatever. So that's why we sell one elastic, and then you can. And if you look at the 50-yard roll, that is the best deal. People say to me, I'll never use 50 yards. Yeah, you will, because it's all of your elastics. It's not just your 2-inch. It cuts down to any width you need it to be. And so it's awesome. It really is. So no, I won't consider selling 1.5 inches wide because you already have it. We're already selling it. How's that? What a deal. Please explain how the POM works. All right. The POM, the pattern of the month, is the real word for that. We take sign-ups twice a year. It's a year program. So we take sign-ups because we can't have people joining in every year. We'd have to prorate it every month, and it just became too complex. So you can either sign up in December or you can sign up in June. December obviously is full year only, and June is for July through December, so it's 6 months. And it was 99 I think at one point, and it will be 49 in June. So when you do that, then you automatically get the pattern, and we mail out the pattern every month around the 10th of the month. You're allowed several substitutions during the year. You just email me, Peggy@silhouettepatterns.com, tell me what you want instead of what you want, your name, and then we take care of all that and we substitute all those patterns out for you. The POM, if you're not a POM club member, then every month we put one pattern. Like today we're highlighting or featuring pants. You saw my donkey with the pants, and you should see the cute little pumpkin that's going out. Anyway, I won't give it away, but anyway, great little photos of pants. You should know because there's all kinds of funny jokes about pants. Anyway, so we're kind of featuring pants this month. We had done the yoga pant. Now I want to do Sally's pants, and we're kind of creeping you up to just take on a little more skill and a little more skill. So the way we did have it was you went to Facebook, you got a code, and you put that code in, and that code gave you a discount. The reason we did it that way is when we started our POM club, the goal was to promote Facebook, and we wanted people sharing their ideas and sharing what they had made on Facebook, the photos, the sharing, because I felt like it was really important for you to see what other people out there were doing. I felt like it gave you confidence, etc., etc. So I really wanted you to see what everyone else was doing. So we thought, okay, if we give you a code, you have to go to Facebook, you have to see it, you have to get the code. Well, things do change, and what we know about you all is you either love Facebook or you hate Facebook. There seems to be no middle ground. And so what's happened over the last few years is I'm inundated with emails such as, I hate Facebook, but I should have the code, or I want the code, or oops, I forgot the code. Would you credit me back? I didn't get the right code. It just, I mean, a myriad of code issues. So this is the first month in April that we took away the code. We marked the pattern of the month, which is 3200, which is what we're going to start to drape tonight. It's marked down to $9.99. There will no more B codes. It is a $9.99 for anyone who purchases that pattern in the month of April. That's it. So hopefully that covers all your POM questions, maybe more than you ever wanted to know. But we will still have the POM. It just is our selected pattern that we have each month, and then we'll go from there. Okay? And maybe you didn't even get the question answered that you wanted. If not, ask specifically and I'll answer it. What is the fabric you're wearing? It's awesome. Thank you. It's on the site. I don't know the name of it, but it's wonderful. It is. It's cotton. It's wonderful. We'll talk about it a little bit later on. I love it. It's just, it's a jumpsuit is what I'm going to show you how to make tonight with your pants. You're going to make your pants, and then we're going to make a jumpsuit tonight. The number of the fabric, right there. Go down one, Jared. No, go back. Yep, right there. It's called striated cotton knit, and the number is 849. It's brand new. We just put it up like moments ago because we needed to get it up by the webcast. I just received Kelsey's blast this week and do not know what piece is missing. Should I be looking for something? Yes, it's piece number 9. It's the back facing, sizes 1 through 4. There's actually a duplicate of the back facing, sizes 5 through 8W. And so you probably have 2 facings, but they're most likely the same. Now we have found that's not the case in every pattern. Some have the right tissue, and I don't know how they did that, and some don't. So we have the tissue, the back facing on PDF, so if you don't have it, just shoot me an email and we'll send it back to you. Okay? All right. Will we be carrying denim? We already have denim. We have denim. We have a black, we have a navy, we have a laminated, we have a wax denim. We have several different kinds of denim. There's no such thing anymore as a regular denim. I know that sounds really crazy, but denim is probably, when we did the last PBS series, the 500 series, we had this denim expert on who's only worked with denim for 50 years. And he was really making the point where denim it's not denim. It used to be that when you said denim, you knew exactly what you meant. But now there's so many variations of it that, you just have to be more specific. So do you want stretch denim? Do you want regular non-stretch denim? What weight? True denim has blue and white, weft and warp. Lots of different kinds of denim these days. Is there any stretch denim fabric that has two-way stretch? Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, you mean on our site? I don't know off the top of my head, but we've got so many new fabrics that we just got in last week, and I'm going to New York this week. I'm sure between those 2 batches we will have denim. Denim is a difficult thing to find. All denims are a difficult thing to find in the U.S. because most of the denim manufacturing is not done in the U.S. It's done in Mexico and other places. And so the extra fabric is not brought back to the U.S. It's liquidated locally. So it's hard to find denim in the U.S. Every time I find denim, almost of any kind that's usable for clothing, I buy it. So if I find anything, of course I'll buy it and bring it back. Love the Eileen Fisher fabric. Anything similar you can recommend for long airplane travel? Yeah, I think the Pontaromas are terrific. The Pontaromas are great. Again, the sources are changing a little bit behind the scenes, and so that Eileen Fisher, where I thought I might be able to get more, I couldn't. But again, I'm going to New York this week, and I have great expectations of finding all kinds of beautiful things. Speaking of Facebook, the Photos of Silhouette Patterns link is not working. Clicking on the comes up a blank instead of showing all the garments. Yeah, we'll take a look at it and figure out what's going on. Be sure and refresh your computer or try from another computer, but we'll take a look at it. What's the difference between 2-way stretch and 4-way stretch for cotton stretch fabrics? It's the same thing. You can't stretch 4 ways. I mean, it's just up and down and in and out, but they call up one and down one and in and one and out one. I mean, you know, two-way is both directions, one-way is one direction. Okay, but four-way, and you can't have any more. How many yards to make a jumpsuit? I use 2 because of this particular, now keep in mind my jumpsuit is a capri jumpsuit. I know y'all can't see the bottom, but you know, I only did it knee length. So it's like a romper. I did the, yeah, it's kind of like a little romper is what I did. I used 2. You've got a pattern throughout this fabric, so you want to make sure you put the pattern in the best places for your body, if that makes sense. Again, we'll talk about that later. Do you guys have a bamboo stretch knit? We do not have bamboo, no. Bamboo is it's not used a lot. Again, remember, most of the fabrics we buy, almost all the fabrics we buy, are designer ends. Designers don't use a lot of bamboo. Bamboo is a, I mean, it's a lovely fabric, don't get me wrong, but it's not a stable and durable fabric. So it has a very short life. So it's available out there, but I don't know. For some reason, silk knits interest me much more than bamboo knits. Hope that doesn't offend anybody. All right. This is fun. You guys have lots of questions tonight. Would the amount of fabric depend on the size you're making? 2 yards is going to be enough for anybody. It's 60 inches wide. It depends on how long you're making it. You know, again, mine only went to the knee, so you're only talking, for me, 40 inches long, and then I duplicated that twice, so that's where my 2 yards came from. If you're making it all the way down to the ground and you want a jumpsuit that's all the way down to the ground, I would go for 3 yards. But I think 2 yards for any size would work. You're not 60 inches around. If you are 60 inches around, then get, you know, more. But I don't think many of you are 60 inches around. All right. Are we what? Lots of Facebook problems? We'll get them fixed. We'll look at them. Our Facebook person is here. Kind of stand behind that camera right there. Anyway, hear that, Facebook person? We'll get it fixed. We'll get it fixed. All right. All right, so can we talk pants? So obviously the first thing I want to do is drape them. We do have webcasts where we've draped and draped and draped. We have PBS. We have all over the place where we drape and drape and drape. Saturday I was in Florida, and I always love going in and going a little early, because I was talking to one of the ladies, and you know, we were doing pants. I was draping pants, and she said to me, I am just really hard to fit. So you have to recognize there's no such thing as hard and fitting. They don't go in the same sentence. There's no such thing. Fit is LCD. That's all it is. It can't be hard to do LC and D. It can be hard if you're not following LC and D, but there's no such thing as hard. It just can't be. All you got to do is understand those 3 principles and follow those 3 principles. So you all are going to ask questions as we go along, and make sure that you understand what we're doing. LCD. I'm not going to tell you that in pants you'll just luck upon the right answer. Like a lot of times, if in a t-shirt, we can make a t-shirt and we'll just luck out and it'll work right. That's not going to happen in pants, because the LC and D have to be right on. They have to be, you know, matching to the body, or the pant will have problems. So it simply means if you don't like the pant, that one of those is wrong. The reason we made 3200 the pattern of the month is because so many of you have said to me, oh, I've got a pants pattern, I don't need to buy that. I'm strongly going to recommend that you spend $9.99 to buy the pattern, because it is not the same draft as those other patterns out there, and it is a better draft. It simply is. I'd made the pant ready to wear for many, many years. I'd used it for many pattern makers. I freelanced, and I used that same pattern and gave it to several designers, and they loved it. So that pattern had been well tried and tested before I ever put it into an actual physical pattern. So 3200 fits well from the get-go, and you should be tweaking. I say that all the time. In this particular case, because it is made for a woven, now I did it in a knit, but you can do both ways. You take the tape measure, you wrap it around your hip, and you sit. And what happens is you spread. So anytime you're dealing with a woven, you take the tape measure, put it around your hips, and sit. If you're dealing with a knit, you just take your hip measurement. You don't need to sit because the fabric will take care of the ease in your body for you. You don't need in the pant. So a woven pant is going to have to be fit a little more loosely than what a knit pant will. A knit pant can be closer to the body, and we love knit pants for that reason, because they can, not have a lot of ease. And anytime we have ease, as the pant gets closer to our body, we look thinner. We actually look thinner. Okay. At the hem, how much wider is a straight skirt than an A-line? Oh, how much wider than a straight skirt is an A-line? A straight skirt by definition is literally from the hip to the hem, straight. That's why they call it a straight skirt. There's no difference of circumference between the hip and the hem. A-line is not a defined number at the hem. A-line just means that the hem is wider than the hip. So I can't give you a fixed number for that answer. I can just tell you that an A-line means the hem is wider. How much wider? All those skirts that go out that are fuller at the bottom, those are all in the classification of A-line. So A-line is a very broad term, just meaning that the hem is wider than the hip. It doesn't have a fixed number. And all skirts, to answer your question, are communicated. When you're communicating skirts, you have a number of inches around the hem. So you say, I want a 60-inch hem, blah, 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 blah. And that's how I always made a skirt, was somebody told me how many inches they wanted at the hem. So for you all, when you're doing your shopping and you're trying on skirts and you like one and you don't like another, you should be measuring those hems so that you can, in your mind, know what 40-inch looks like, what 60-inch looks like, etc., etc. Okay, just an FYI. What about stretch wovens? Do we still sit and fit? We do not sit on stretch wovens. That's why they're stretch wovens. But they do not stretch as much as knits. So anytime we're changing up that fabric, we're changing it according to the fabric. Remember the DVD, the fabric always wins. So we're going to be using different sizes. Size is only circumference. When we talk about L, C, and D, it's only the C that we're adjusting. The L is going to stay the same in most cases, and the D, the darting all stays the same. I don't need to change the angles or any of that stuff, but I do have to change my circumferences. It's no different than a t-shirt and a blouse and a jacket. Those are different circumferences and they're different garments. Unfortunately, on the bottom, we call them all pants. And that's probably the confusing thing, because there's different kinds of pants and there's different kinds of fabrics. So we have to use different circumferences when we deal with different fabrics based on how much the fabric stretches. Regarding the Pontorum and the Eileen Fisher fabric, do you recommend the 8 ounce or how many ounce? 8 ounce is good. You can go, it all depends on your climate and you. In the summertime, I like to go to a lighter fabric. In the wintertime, I like a heavier fabric. It keeps me warmer and the thin fabric is cold, so I adjust it according to my season. I'm a cold-natured, so I have a tendency to like the thicker all the time, but it's all, there's just a lot of variables there. It's more personal than anything else, and they'll all work. In one of your Fit to Stitch programs, you mentioned that a pencil skirt is 1 inch narrower than a straight skirt. Do you mean 1 inch on each piece? I do. Did I say 1 inch total? Yeah, it's 1 inch each piece. So it's 4 inches smaller at the hem than what the straight skirt is. It's a pegged skirt, a pencil skirt, any of those terminologies. Now it's just talking about where the hem now is narrower than the hip line. Okay? How do you deal with a hard hip? What's a hard hip? That's a new one on me. A hard hip? I know it doesn't mean the heart's in your hip, because I know where your hearts are. They're good hearts and they're up here. A hard hip. I don't know. Just explain. All right, so let's start draping. I made up our little girl here, and the girl is just a kind of a purchased form, and the pattern obviously doesn't fit for her, and that's good. So I just made the pattern up exactly like it is. I can tell you from experience of doing lots and lots of classes, it is very difficult for you all to make up a pattern without making changes. You automatically make these changes that you think will work, and they haven't worked for 40 years, but all of a sudden you think they will, and so you still keep making them. The hardest thing I have, clearly, among everything else, is getting you all to get rid of the information that you know doesn't work and that I know doesn't work, but for some reason you still want to do it repeatedly. And I haven't been to a one day in a while, but it's really interesting because last time I was in Atlanta we were kind of talking about this. That was the last one day I was at, and they just loved the one day. They just loved it. But what we notice, and what I notice about all the one days, is people become very combative. And they don't mean to, so I don't take it personal. I just literally work our way through it until there's only logic being used, and when all emotion is gone and the logic is left, LCD is still going to work, okay? But, and again, I'm telling you this because with pants, you've been told things and you just know they don't work, but you still want to do them. And I'm telling you, it's hurting you tremendously. It's definitely hurting you. So try your best to get rid of that information and just listen as I go through it. And apply it. That's it. Alright, so we've made up the muslin. It took me, I literally took, I counted, I timed myself. To cut out and make up the muslin took me 20 minutes. I would recommend, it is the best 20 minutes you will spend, because now you're free to make the changes, take the changes back to the tissue, and fix them, and you'll have a beautiful pair of pants. Alright, so we're going to start with L. And again, L is length. Now in pants, now hear me, please listen to this. In pants, the length is called crotch depth. So technically, I don't want you to do this, but it's when you would sit in the chair and you'd measure from your waist to the chair. Basically, it's trying to tell you how far it is from your waist to the crotch. And all the length does is go up or down. So if you make up the pants and it's wrong, I always say just, online on the instruction page, if you go to that page, like where the spiffy and all the classes are, there's some instructions on how to print up or how to make up a sample pair of pants. The instructions to make them up. You could print that out and look through it and read it, because it has you leaving extra seam allowance. That's all optional. If you're in the right circumference, you don't have to do that. I knew I was in the right circumference, so I didn't need to do that. But just to make sure, you can leave extra here. You go through when you make the muslin, you sew the darts. I left open center front seam. I sewed center back seam. Why center front? Simply because you can see. And you can see that you're making sure the fronts are together. If you're fitting yourself, it doesn't make any sense to leave the back open. You can't see what you're doing. So close the center front, and I just pinned it right on the seam allowance. There's no changes that are going to be made at center front or center back, so no alteration needs to take place there. I didn't put the fly front in. It's not necessary. I just sewed in the darts and sewed the side pieces. Everything's basted. Everything's basted. Alright, so that's where I am, and I put them on and I close up the front. If you can't get them on, you're going to have to release the side seams, but I would suggest if you're way off size-wise, make another pair. Spend another 20 minutes. Don't try to do too much adjusting. I do when I'm in workshops because I want the lady to go home with the pant that's finished. But if you're too far off, the pattern grades in the center as well as the side, and if you're just too far off, I would strongly recommend just start again. Just say, okay, that was wrong, let's do it again. Alright? And so we're going to get the pant on, and we're going to have the right circumference. If you're a different size hip than you are waist, you're going to go with the hip. The hip and the legs, the waist is too easy to adjust. All I have to do is let out darts, add to the side. You're going to go with the hip. And don't, or, if you're one size hip and one size waist, you can cut from one size to another. You don't have to cut it exactly like the tissue is. But if you have little legs too, you could even go with one size hip and go down as it goes into the leg. So you can change the sizes if you need to, and there's plenty of ladies that have tummies and no legs, and you want to show that off. You want to show the tummy and you want to show the legs, and don't have it go straight from the tummy, because the legs look big and you want to see how little tiny the legs are. Alright, so any questions on circumference and getting the right size? Again, if you're too far off, just chalk it and do it again. It'll really save, I think, aggravation. And what I always say is we're going to be tweaking this. We're not overhauling it, we're tweaking. Okay, so that's kind of the word you should remember. And tweaking means just a couple changes and not big, huge changes. Okay, so it doesn't matter where you start. The length, if the pant needs to go up or down, you're going to pull it from the side. The circumference will hold the crotch in place on your body. So basically these two places right here, the two side seams, are what will hold that pant in place. So once I get the crotch where I want it, you want to put two pins on the side seams, and those two pins should be equidistant from the stitch line. Remember that I'm only going to use one. I use this for my pattern when it's finished. I'm only going to use one front and one back. I'm not going to make two sides. This is going to be my pattern. I'm going to release my darts, and that's my pattern. Alright, so what's going to hold that crotch in place is the circumference. And if the crotch is too low, I'm going to pull it up where I want it to be. I'm going to take in the circumference until the crotch holds it in place. And then once it does, I'm just going to go down and shape this along to my body. Once I take it off, I'll lay a French curve on it, and I'll make sure it follows the French curve. I have noticed so many of you when I travel, you don't have a right French curve. It's either too short, you've got some that are old that are wrong. I don't know how much this curve is, but it's accurate. It's a tool. You'll use it forever. So I would recommend make sure your curve is right and make sure it's accurate. Because when I take this off, I'm going to lay the French curve down to make sure that my side seam follows the French curve. All hips out there follow a French curve, so you want to make sure that your pant does. I've seen so many women eyeball the side seam, and then they wonder why it doesn't lay right, why it doesn't lay flat, and it's because it looks like a dog's hind leg. It looks crooked. Okay, so you got to make sure that you smooth it out. Okay, so I've got the length in place. I did that with the circumference. I'm in the right size. I can always take out a little bit in the leg if I want to from the side seam. You don't have to take it from the inseam as well as the outseam. I can take away circumference here, and I can just blend it right back into the hip line. Remember, don't get too small on the hip because I have to be able to get it on. Also, just as a general rule, tight is not a good thing. Too tight is not good. Too tight, you will look bigger if you try to get into pants that are too little. And then there's the other extreme too. If you wear pants that are too loose, you're going to look heavier. So for those of you who have lost a lot of weight and you're really out of touch with how much you've lost, go back to trying on clothes. Go back to, get a vision as to what you are and try to wear them just right at the size of your body, not too big and not too small. It's the best way to do it. Okay, so I've slimmed, thank you. So I've slimmed that in a little bit. Okay, and just took it along the side, and you want to do the other side equally, both sides equally. And just kind of look at both sides to make sure that they're equal. You can take it off, you could sew it, whatever works for you. Okay, so length and circumference, you see length is going to go up and down, circumference is going to go in and out. Because I took the legs in smaller here and tapered here, everything up here is fine. I could use my darts, I'll do that in a minute. In fact, let me turn this to the back because there's a little bit of gapping right here at center back. So don't use center back seam because center back seam is a bias, and by using center back seam you'll make it a worse bias. I don't think that's a word, but you'll make it more bias, and what we know about bias is unstable. So leave that center back seam alone and come to my darts, and you can see I'm just going to pull that out and keep all your darts about the same size. So rather than putting all that change into one dart, divide it between the two. The purpose of darts are when I take the difference of my hip and my waist and I come up with a number 8, whatever the number is, it doesn't matter. what darts do is they take in the difference between my hip and my waist in small increments all the way around my body. If I didn't have darts, I'd only have 4 seams to take in all that difference, and the pant becomes too bias. So what those darts do are they give me little tiny increments all the way around to where I can take in the differences and keep the fabric really looking better, more stable because it's more on grain. So in this particular pant, the reason I gave you 8 darts is so that you had all the tools you would need. If you have a fairly straighter body and you don't have a big difference between your hip and your waist, then you may not need all those darts. If you're going to take away darts, leave the center front and the center back ones in place, and this is called the side dart. Take away the side dart. Again, the center darts are going to stay in place. They're 4 inches from center back and 4 inches from center front. But if you are straighter and you don't need all that darting, then take away these side darts first. Take the front ones first, the front side darts first, and then go to the back. The back is more concave, and it will better be facilitated with more darts back here. The front, because it is convex, you can do a lot of times with just 1 dart in the front, as opposed to, and I mean 1 on each side, 2 rather than 4. I'll say that to where it's a little more clear. Okay, but you can see here where I took in the darts equally here. You can see how beautiful that lays there, and it looks really nice. Don't go to center back seam to take in center back. It's not the way we're going to do it. Okay, then also while I'm back here, that's we've got the length and we've got the circumference. We're going to do depth, and in pant fitting, depth is called crotch length, and it is by definition when you measure at center back through the crotch around to the front. This is called the crotch length. That goes over the rear end, through the crotch, and around the tummy, and it's actually the depth of the body, but it's called crotch length. And so what I tried to do by that video that we put up last week, the pant fitting video, is show you a case where we had slashed and added. And I wanted you to see that because so many of you asked me that question. How do I know? And you're going to get a big V back here. So if you haven't seen that YouTube video that we put up last week, watch that, and you can see the process that I'm slashing right through the hip line and adding fabric here, because it's too low at the waist. You can't add fabric here. I know you've been told over and over, but you're going to pretend for a minute that this is a neckline and this is a bust line. And if there was something wrong with the bust line, you would never add at the neckline. You're told to in pants, but you would never do that. It's just silly. There's 3 separate places, there's 3 separate parts, and they have to be treated and respected separately of the parts. Okay, so in this case, again, I've got a little wrinkle as I leave the bottom, and so this is where I'm going to take at the hip line and I'm going to pinch it out, and I'm just going to pinch it out until the pant hangs perfectly straight. So I don't have to be a rocket science or anybody needs to help me. All I have to do is look sideways into the mirror and pinch this up with my finger right at center back until the wrinkles go away, and once they go away I can take it off, and it doesn't matter. Over here is not important. All that's important is how much I took away here and that it tapers to nothing over here. It doesn't matter where it is here. Just as long as it's on the edge, the goal of that is for the pattern to lay flat. That's it. So pinch it away here, take it over to the side. There's nobody who has one bum bigger than the other bum. It's not about the bum anyway. It's what's at center back. So you're going to take that out, and you're going to taper to nothing. Now you could take it off and sew it right then if you want. There's a couple things in general I have found that women do. They don't take this at the right place. They take it too low or too high. It's at the hip line. The hip line's the fullest part. When the skirt was spread, it was added there, so you're just correcting the pattern. Most pattern makers purposely make, me included, purposely make this too long because it's much easier to take up and fix than it is to slash, and you saw in the video how I had to add that in. That's a lot of work. Now, you cannot do this after the pant is made. I hear the questions. Can you take it from the crotch? No, that's like, again, this is the bust line, this is the waistline. If the bust line were wrong, would you scoop the waistline out? It doesn't make any sense, except that I know you've been told that, and so you think you know, it might work. It won't work. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it won't work. So what's wrong here has to be fixed here. Again, it can be fixed in the trial pair of pants. This is worth its weight in gold. To have that beautiful hang on the back of your pant is just, I mean, come on, it takes 20 minutes and a pinch and you're good to go. Alright, so the back of my pant is all done. I'm going to go to the front, and anything that's been taken away here, there's no other place I need to add it in. There's no correction. I don't take away here and add here because where this was wrong, the extra fabric was hanging down here. Now it's not hanging down. Don't add it at the hem. There was no problems at the hem. Just take it out here and leave it. Sew it on your sewing machine, taper to nothing at the side. Alright, so if we look at the front, and what you want to do is operate on the same side. So if you pinched out this side, pinch out this side. And you can see that she kind of has those whiskers, I call them, coming out from the crotch area. It's probably not one that most of us women want. And so that is just literally where the curve of the crotch and the curve of the body are just not aligning. And a dart is the simplest little solution for this. So all I'm going to do is take out a little dart right there. It's usually the deepest part of the curve. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did in the back. Because I had to do it to the back doesn't mean I have to do it to the front. The problems in the back, the problems in the front are completely separate from another. Wait to make sure you have them before you just go darting things out. And you can see that once I had that, I remember, I'll never forget one time trying on a pair of pants, and I was at a high-end store and I tried the pants on and I had these little smiles, whatever you want to call them, coming out from my crotch. And I said to the lady, she comes in, she goes, "Oh, those pants look great on you." I said, "But what about these like wrinkles, all these lines?" I said, "I don't know if I like that." She said, "Oh no, they're supposed to be like that. That's the way they're supposed to be." I'll never forget. We got a really good chuckle at that one, but no, they're not supposed to be like that. That's called poor fit, okay? The problem is that you can't fix them after a pair of pants have been made, so the clerk would much rather convince you that the pants are supposed to be like that than actually telling you that the pants don't fit properly, especially when they're making commission. So just be aware of that. So you can see that after I take it, and again, the reason it does it is because the angles of the body are sharper than the angles on this pattern. So as they change, I have to take away length in the center, but not at the side. And when you have an uneven length, that's depth. Okay? So there we have it, and we are good to go. The reason 3200 is a great pattern because it goes all the way to the waist. So if I want to take some length off, I can do that, but I have the shaping. And whenever you're fitting a base pant, you want to go all the way to the waist. Then I can back it off, because however far I back it off, I'm going to have the right angle of the waist all the way down. So if I decide I want to make it lower and I cut off 2 inches, I still have the right shaping. So much easier to go higher and cut it off than it is to go lower and try to add up if it's not where you want it to be. Alright, questions on fitting. Are we okay with our cute little lady? Oh, can 3000 be converted to 3200? Yes. A pleat can be converted to a dart. You just have to know how. Hard hip. Okay, my waist to hip goes out, and my hip is narrower from waist to hip, but below hip I bulge out again. Okay, so you're going to use the widest number. If the widest number, if I'm hearing you correctly, the widest number you're saying is down below the rear end. So you're going to double check this, because it might be when you're standing, but when you're sitting it's probably not, because the rear end spreads more. There's more fat accumulation at the rear end, and it spreads more than any other part because we sit on our rear end. So both of these numbers, remember, are sitting. So take the tape measure around your hip and sit. Take the tape measure around your heart part, whatever that is, and sit. But again, keep in mind, if this number is bigger than this number, I'm going to use this number, but I'm going to put it here, because I'm not going to have the pant going like this and then coming out. You're just going to have extra ease in your hip line. Okay, so not a big deal. You're just going to use the largest number. You're just going to use it at the hip line. Okay? How would you lower the waist on 3200 so that it fits lower than the waist? Just cut it off. Just cut off however much lower you want it. Again, I would recommend you fit it all the way to the waist, but then you just decide, take a piece of elastic or a tape measure and put it around and just cut it off. Make sure you leave a seam allowance on there. That's what I did with these. I'll show them to you in a minute. I lowered them and then I just put the waistband on. I just cut the waistband longer and stuck it on right where I wanted the waist. Okay? Did you say crotch length or crotch depth by pulling up the side seam? That's crotch depth. It's the length of the body, but it's called crotch depth. So you the wearer, puts it, like, I don't ever try to tell anybody where you want your crotch. You just pull it and put it where you want it to be, and then the circumference will hold it in place. Okay? I may be jumping the gun, but if you pull up on the side seams to shorten the length, won't the waistband be too high? No, you can cut it off. The waistband is wherever you want it to be, so if it's too high, then reduce it. But you are jumping the gun because you're anticipating there to be problems before you know they are, which is okay. I mean, but if it goes too high, then just cut it off. Okay? How far down the butt should the dart end? How far down on the butt should the dart end? The vertical darts. They're 5 to 7 inches in the front, 7 to 9 inches in the back. That's depending on your height. But they should start to end at the fullest part of your body, both sides, front and back. How do I draw for or make allowance for high hip? That comes in your French curve. All you got to do is drape it on you, and then use your French curve and lay it down, and it will tell you the numbers. And if you did yoga pants, you probably already have those numbers, and you should lay it down before you cut your pants. Okay? Okay, is there a way to not have darts in the front of the pants and still have them fit? Well, clearly there is. Jeans are a good example. But what you see in jeans is the side seam actually pulls forward because the front darts are converted to the seams. One is converted to center front and one is converted to the side, and so the side seams pull forward. So that can always be done. Keep in mind, as you lower the waist and the body, there is less difference between hip and waist. You can also do less darting. But also remember, the darts are there to take in the difference between waist and hip. So if you don't have it, or you want to put it in the sides, or you want to put it in the back, you can do any of those variables. They're your pants, and so you can do that. Okay? I have made muslins using muslin fabric. I am not successful. Is it possible the fabric is too thin? Maybe use a firmer fabric. Yeah, I mean, not successful is a very generic term. So you wouldn't be not successful simply because of the fabric, but there might be something about the fabric that you're misinterpreting it to be a wrinkle. L, C, and D. That's all fit is. That's all it is. And I do know that when I've dealt with women, they have a tendency to what I call overfit. They kind of just don't know when to quit. Is that fair? So they just kind of keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. I'm going to try to move this out of the way because I want to show you some other cool stuff. I got some other neat ideas I want to show you. Okay, pant muslin fits well at the waist. However, at the back, the waist bows out when I put on the waistband. How can I correct the waistband to hug the waist closer? When you're sewing on that waistband, you should be pulling the waistband. Literally pulling the waistband. You're feeding the pant into it, but keep that waistband taut, otherwise the waistband will flare out. And that's simply because you probably sewed a little one-to-one. So just keep pulling on that waistband and keep it tight. What do you do for pant legs that hang up on the back of the calves? You put another dart right above the calves that changes the angle of the pant leg. So instead of it coming straight down from the rear end, you'd put another dart there and experiment. You'll see it's on one side or the other. It'll actually pull the leg back out. I've done it many times, and it's a great little trick. Play with your darts in the back of the legs, and you'll figure it out if you play with darts. Doesn't a back crotch length that's too short also produce wrinkle in the legs? No. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of variables, possibly. Not in my mind, no. If it's too short, it pulls down at the waist. The wrinkles of the legs are not from a crotch length that's too short, or crotch depth that's too short. Okay? If you're knock-kneed and have a fuller inner thigh, and the back of the leg has a radiant crease then, from the inner thigh all the way down to the knee, do you take, you guys, there's only 3 variables, L, C, D. Any problem you're looking at, if it's an angular problem, it's depth. So try darting, play with it, learn. You guys, in the process of doing this, you'll learn a tremendous amount, and that's a good thing. You are draping the pant is what you're doing. So, I mean, there's a million variables we could go into, but we're kind of running out of time, and I really want to get on these other things. Wherever the wrinkles are, take a dart. Darts can go all over, from one side to another when you get into leggings, Darts, you know, Jeannie, you guys know the fit model that I have on Fit to Stitch. She's got bow legs. I hope she doesn't mind you telling me. But anyway, you know, we do darts all over the place. When we're done, the pants, they're crooked as can be, but they look straight. And she can't buy leggings because her legs are just kind of crooked. But anyway, by the time we're done, they look really good. So play around with darts. Understand the principles that I'm trying to teach you rather than literally just what I'm doing, and incorporate those. Just kind of think. Okay, so take a step back and think. I have a flat butt, the pants bag underneath at the crotch line. What can I do? That's your dart. Your dart at the hip line will take that away. The flat butt is because you have more pant than you have butt. It's kind of like a D-cup butt. It's kind of like a D-cup pant on a B-cup butt. And so it sags down below. I always say that's what a cowl neck is, and it's okay, but it's not okay on the butt. So it's a depth issue, and you're going to take that dart away and fix that. Okay, now what we're going to do, can I convert pattern to elastic waist with no zipper? You can. How much ease should I use for athletic muscular thighs? Ease is your call, you guys. It's your call. Okay, in other words, like this is my new pant that I made. This is my Sally's pant. I love this fabric. Love this fabric. This is a stretch cotton. So what I wanted to do in this particular case is I lowered the waist. So I just cut off the top what I didn't want. I put the same waistband on, I just made it longer. I didn't do the fly front, I did a little invisible zipper in the side. And I made the legs a little bit narrower because I knew what I wanted. I wanted the leg at the knee to be like 18 inches, and it was 20 inches on the pattern, so I brought it in. I also brought it in the side seam. Okay, so these are a great pair of capris. I would strongly recommend you make several of these pairs. Just really front. Print capris are really, really stylish right now, and just do them with a solid top. This is Nikki's top. This is $2.15. Tomorrow we'll have a little special going. We've got several patterns that we're going to put together for you that are great tops for your pants. $2.15, and this is that black rayon knit. All right, now what I want to do, the jumpsuit I have on. All you're going to do is put together your tank top. Remember, that's why I snuck that little tank top fitting in for you, so that you could make a jumpsuit. Jumpsuits for spring, oh my goodness, they're just ridiculously popular, and they're not inexpensive. They're very, very expensive in the stores if you can get them to fit. The problem is you got all those parts that have to be in the right place. That's a hard thing to do. So in this top, my tank top, I measured where my waist is, I tucked that under. Okay, and then I just literally put this on the top of my pant. So this is my front, and this is my pant front, and obviously I put the center front of the top at the crotch, so you're going to have a seam going down the front. I don't have any opening on this. Literally, because it's a tank top, I can take it off and, you know, I step into it and pull it up, and it's a knit, so I can just literally put it up over my chest. Okay, so if you put these two together, you notice that the top portion is, in my case, is wider than this, because the top is less fitted than what the bottom is. So when you're cutting here, just go straight up to the top. Leave this extra, and I put a drawstring in, and then I put those two little cord stops. We've got them online. They're cute. Just little cord stops. So I made a drawstring at the waist, and then just put little cord stops in. So then I did the same thing to the back. You don't even overlap it. Once you turn up where the waist is, you just touch the two together and cut them continuously. I added an inch so that I would have a little extra in ease, so that it would give me a little bloused effect, which is what I wanted. Okay, again, these, I mean, I'm going to make a lot of these. These are so comfortable, especially the cotton. They're just really fun. They just took no time to make at all. All your fitting is done. It's in the tank top, it's in the pant, and now you're just cutting it together. I want to show you this little shrug, because I saw this at the store. I copied it at the store, and I've made a couple of them. This is a new fabric we just put up, and they're adorable for spring. They're just really, really cute. So I'm going to take a pattern. Now, the shrug itself is kind of a weird pattern, but what I did is I made it, rather than giving you numbers of pieces, and that just seemed way confusing to me, I went through and I found a pattern that was very close, and we're going to amend this pattern. So the pattern is 214. It's called Lauren's Wrap Top. It was a Ralph Lauren top, and I'm going to show you the pattern and how to amend it as to what I did. Okay, so the first thing I did is I took the back piece on the pattern and I took away 6 inches. So this is my new back piece, taking away 6 inches. Then there's a little piece. Now this is optional, you don't have to do this, but the back is actually cut into 2 pieces, and so you're going to even cut this a little bit shorter. And remember, every time you do a cut, you got to add seam allowance. Okay, so there's my back piece, and there's my little, it's a real cute little piece in the back. These are prints, so they're hard to see, but anyway, there's a little piece in the back. So, and when you make it, you're going to sew that together first. Alright, because tomorrow I'll never remember this, you guys, you can't ask me questions on this. So we're going to go through this and make it really clear. So if you have questions, you're just going to have to watch over and over. Okay, then the sleeve. This is a kimono sleeve. I mean, it's in one. I put that back away before I was ready to. Sorry, there's my back. So kimono sleeves, what I did is I traced the sleeve, and again I took off 6 inches because I wanted it to be 3/4 lengths. This is the black rayon knit that I used. You want to use a fabric that's dual-sided. I folded it in half, and I'm going to cut it in half. And because it's the same in the front and the back, one's going to become the front, one's going to become the back. And when I make the pattern, I'm going to take this and follow the shoulder line down and just overlap my 3/8 inch seam allowance. I've got 3/8 on this and I've got 3/8 on this. Overlap it, but keep the angle going with the shoulder line. Okay? Now, lots of raglans are different angles here, but keep it straight because you're going to need it. Now down here, all you're going to do is draw a little connection. It's kind of like just a web, a little arc. And you're going to connect, and it's all styling, it's all designed. So somewhere in through here, you're just going to connect it to the side seam, and that's going to make the back. Okay, your back is all done, that's all you're going to do. Now the front, this little piece is going to be your front, but you've got to have the arc on it. Okay, so here's the little arc I was talking about. When you draw the arc on the back, draw it on the front also. But then this piece actually sews in all by itself. So once you've connected it, you're going to cut off an angle like this. Okay? If you're not sure, fudge it or fidget it, and I'm sure it'll turn out great. The neatest thing is this has no front piece. I'm going to show you here in just a minute. Okay, so here's my back that I made, and you can see here's my little connection. So when you go to do the front, you're going to put the front in the same place, and you're going to cut from the deepest part of that curve right up to the edge of the shoulder. That's going to be the angle there, and that's it. So that front is going to be separate than the back. Okay, one last piece to go, and this is not the most important, but it's important. This is going to be your front piece. Notice I did not use the side panel. I'm not using the side panel. This is going to actually go from the shawl collar straight over to the side, and that's what kind of gives it that shrug look. Lots of great fabrics. So this is your front piece. I copied mine to where I knew what it looked like. I shortened it by 6 inches, same thing. You're going to take and put this piece, and you're going to line it up right at the edge of the collar. So every size you have will work for the size you are. That lines up there. You're going to go over 9 inches, and you're going to draw, the 2 alignment points are the collar edge and where you cut off your 6 inches. Okay, so right here and right here you go to, this is normally where it would sew into the side panel, but now it's going to become the side seam. You're cutting out that side panel. And then you just draw it, this come over 9 inches and draw right down to this point. So this is a curve to the side of this piece, come out 9 inches. This is on the fold because it's actually the back of the shawl collar, and then you go straight down to there. Okay, so let me just easily show you how it sews together, and you'll have it. On this back piece, this is where I put this little piece there. Sew that together first. Okay? Then you've got this piece here. is your collar. It's on a fold, and before you sew that, you're going to sew the front sleeve onto the back sleeve. You're going to sew along here, and it would be cute to put raw edges out. It wouldn't make any difference. So at this point I've got these 3 pieces done together. You only have 4 pieces, so you recognize that and when you sew this, you can see that you sew just to this point. So this is all going to be loose, and your collar is going to come in. Center back is going to start here. It's going to sew around to here, and it's going to sew all the way down and be at the edge of the side seam down there. So all of this is one continuous piece, which is your collar. So this starts here, sews along there, and you can see I put a little notch down here when I was doing this, so you could so you could just see that this back piece, the lower back piece, that's where it connected to that collar piece. So this is just fun. I mean, you'll get it, it's not hard. Play with it, figure it out. But I think for summer, these are wonderful little wraps because I love doing the tank top, I love doing sleeveless, but I just don't like running around with sleeveless all the time. And I don't necessarily want a jacket because it's kind of warm. So to have just something that I can throw on that's 3/4, that covers, that looks really summery, I just love it. I just really, really like it, and it's, like I said, just a little shrug. It's adorable. This one that I did has a really cute selvage. The fabric has a great selvage on it, so I cut the selvage off, and it looks like it's knitted. It looks like it's hand knitted. It's just adorable. It's really, really cute. Anyway, so we put up some great fabrics. They're all good for jackets, for these little shrugs. You just want a little two-sided something. And these are great with your capris. They're great with jumpsuits, anything you're going to make. And we are at time. That was fast, right? All right. Any questions that we can answer? I have a round tummy. Would I make the front darts shorter? No. Don't stop them at the top of the tummy. Take them through the tummy. If you stop them at the top, you'll make your tummy look rounder. Those darts are great vertical lines. Don't eliminate them. Keep them in your clothing and just go right through your tummy. How do you eliminate the waistband and just have a facing? Where's my girl? Once the darts are stitched, you're just going to take and trace the shape of the top. Facings are generally 1.5 to 2 inches wide, so just trace the top, trace the sides, and then connect it. Let me show you here. Just trace the top, trace the side, and then connect it, and that's your facing. But facings do not have darts in them, so close up your pattern, have the darts done, and then make the facing. If I lower the waist, say about 2 inches, do you need to lengthen the dart? No. No, you can't lengthen the darts. The darts will look really ridiculous if they keep going. So just leave the darts. You've seen waistbands that just have little darts coming out of the bottom. Make the darts fit and then take the waistband off and leave the darts as they are. Okay? Do you ever add a wedge in front crotch as you do in the back crotch for a full bum? No. No. The difference being is the front is concave. So if you've got a tummy and you're trying to go over that tummy, you can accommodate it at the waist. It doesn't have to be added internally. It does not have to be a wedge. Ever. I've never, ever. In all the sizes, and I'm telling you, I fit every size out there. Because the body is convex, it's a different shape. The wedge is only for convex, not concave. Okay? I love jumpsuits too, but going to the toilet is really a nuisance. Will doing it baby style with snaps along the inside be ridiculous for adults? Yes. Yes. It'll look silly. I mean, yes. You know, here, you want me to tell you a secret? I made the leg big enough. I won't demo it, but I can actually pull it up and go to the bathroom without taking it off. I could, but it's not that big a deal to take it off. It doesn't take that long. It's not long to the floor, you know. Just don't, yeah, you can do whatever you want. How's that? If I need to add some fabric so pant can rise up to my back, where do I cut into the pant? At the hip line. Unless you're just trying to add, if the whole thing is low, if the whole thing all the way around, but if you're just trying to add at the back, you probably need to cut at the hip line. Look at the YouTube video we put up last week. Alright? For the top, is 1 yard enough? Boy, it depends on the width. It depends on the size you are and the width it is. It'd be close. It'd be very close to make sure one's enough. How many yards for the shrug? I would go 2 to be safe. And do a little tank top to match, you guys. Don't, the shrug and the top to match, and then just don't necessarily wear them together, but you can mix and match them. Your wardrobe goes a lot farther. Would you please lift your hair so I can see the top? How's that? Will I take off the top? No. But there's the top. It's just the tank top on top of, the pant. All right? All right, ladies. You know what we're going to do in 2 weeks? We're just going to have so much fun. I have just been working and working and working, getting ready for it, and I can't wait. It's going to be we're going to call it spring cleaning / sewing. I don't know what we're going to call it. But anyway, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks so much for being here, and as always, happy sewing. Good night.